The stories you need to know, Patriot Tonight.
Welcome back, everybody. On this Manafort Monday, you are listening to Patriot Tonight, Sirius XM Patriot, Channel 125. I'm Celeste Katz. I am senior politics writer for Newsweek magazine. And clearly, it has not been exactly what you call a slow news day. I think that on everybody's mind this evening, and we are taking your calls about it, 866-95-PATRIOT. 866-957-2874. The surrender to the FBI of Paul Manafort, the former campaign manager for Donald J. Trump. Just to get everyone caught up, in case you're just joining me, which I do appreciate, I'll just give you the top of a Reuters story real quick. Federal investigators probing Russian interference in the 2016 U.S. election charged President Donald Trump's former campaign manager, Paul Manafort, and another aide, Rick Gates, with money laundering. A third former Trump advisor, George Pop.
Be heard now. Be heard now. 866-957-2874. Patriot Tonight.
He made a joke. Maybe you guys should get a sense of humor and try it sometime.
And you've just been listening to a little clip from today's daily press briefing. Press Secretary Sarah Huckabee Sanders telling the people in the Brady briefing room to maybe ease up on it a little bit, have a sense of humor. The president is just having a bit of a goof, and he does, in fact, believe in his Secretary of State, Rex Tillerson. What do you think, Harlan? Do I need to just lighten the hell up, or what? You know, am I just too much of a bummer for?
Well, it was so clearly a joke. I mean, of course, the president's not comparing IQs with Rex Tillerson. I mean, he said it in jest. He was joking.
And that he called the president a moron.
Well, okay, I didn't know if we could use that language on the radio.
I think we. Well, you know,
I'm just teasing you.
It has more than 4 letters. I think we're okay.
Yo, look at this.
We're okay.
Oh, well,
I counted.
I can think of some others that.
Well, yeah, no, we're gonna leave Harlan now, but okay. But he did say during that first news conference that was just nonsense, petty nonsense, and he wasn't gonna get into it when asked directly, "Did you call the president that a moron?" By the way, if you want to get in on this and talk about it with us, Celeste Katz and Harlan Hill taking your calls, 866-95-PATRIOT, 866-957-2874. And I invited people. I said, I'm a working reporter who covers politics, covers the White House. Do you want to call in and tell me what questions I should be asking and what questions you don't like me asking? Please do that, 866-95-PATRIOT. Patrick from Ohio.
Hi, Ms. Katz, Mr. Hill. Thank you for taking my call, gentle people.
It's a pleasure to have you on the line.
I was listening.
Welcome to Special Relationship, a podcast from Mike and The Economist. I'm Celeste Katz from Mike.
And I'm John Prideaux from The Economist.
Donald Trump has a very scary message for the American public. The election might be fixed. The Republican nominee, who's trailing Hillary Clinton in the run-up to November 8th, has claimed the vote might be rigged against him. During the final presidential debate, Trump even hedged on whether he'd accept the final outcome at all.
Do you make the same commitment that you will absolutely accept the result of this election?
I will look at it at the time. I'm not looking at anything now. I'll look at it at the time.
At that debate in Las Vegas, I talked to a former Clinton aide, Mo Elathi, who said Trump's take could have a bad ripple effect on U.S. democracy.
I think this is the single most dangerous thing that he has done from the beginning of this campaign.
But Ben Carson, who ran against Trump for the GOP nomination, said the fears could end up being fact.
If we have the ability to send men to the moon and the ability to make sophisticated electronic equipment and do complex operations, surely we have the ability to stop voter fraud.
Are you worried that the election might not be reliable no matter who wins?
It is certainly something that I think a logical person could conclude.
Despite a lack of evidence that wide-scale voter fraud is even possible in modern U.S. elections, Trump's message seems to be working, at least on his fans. One recent poll found as many as 2/3 of Trump voters think it will be common for non-citizens to cast votes. And the problem goes even further. Another new survey found fewer than half of Americans have great faith that their vote will be counted accurately in November.
In this episode, we're going to talk about election rigging. We'll start on Pennsylvania Avenue in the George W. Bush White House, and we'll end up in Kenya.
Joining us by phone is Dana Perino, She served as the first female Republican White House press secretary during the administration of President George W. Bush. She's now a host of Fox News Channel's The Five and of the podcast I'll Tell You What with Chris Stirewalt. Dana, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me. I like the way you say I'll tell you what.
Well, you tell us what, which is, first of all, we wanted to know, what do you make of Donald Trump and his supporters sort of pushing this whole idea that the election might be rigged in some way? What does that mean to you?
Well, I think it's the sign of a campaign that is worried.
Joining us now is Marty Barron, the executive editor of The Washington Post. He has led his newspaper to numerous Pulitzer Prizes. Joining us now to try and figure out what happens next on the left is Howard Dean, the former governor of Vermont. His 2004 run for the presidency set much of the... Joining us now from Washington is Bill Kristol. As editor of the Weekly Standard, he's a noted voice in conservative thought and a long-standing critic. Joining us now to speak about what he's doing to get lawmakers to move on gun regulations is Democratic Senator Chris Murphy from Connecticut. Last week, he led... Lower Manhattan is one of the richest places on the planet. The New World Trade Center towers over its fellow skyscrapers. Tourists take selfies with the Bronze Bull of Wall Street and visit the Statue of Liberty on the ferries that crisscross the harbor. It might seem like a jarring place to try to teach people about the plight of the world's refugees. Or maybe it's exactly the right one.
We're going to go straight through this way. Actually,
The humanitarian group Doctors Without Borders, also known by its French acronym, MSF, is trying to make its work with refugees from places like Syria easier for the public to understand. One way it has done so is through an interactive exhibition touring the United States.
It's so overcrowded, the smugglers basically just cram the boats.
Make everyone really comfortable that I'm okay.
Political correspondent Celeste Katz is covering the Giuliani campaign for the New York Daily News. And Celeste, Rudy Giuliani, they're referring to his bout with prostate cancer, diagnosed back in 2000, and one of the things that made him drop out of the New York Senate race against Hillary Clinton at that time.
Yes, that's right. He is going to have his doctor give a full report after Christmas that he says will basically explain that he's in excellent health. He went through a battery of tests. He said he's also awaiting some additional cancer tests. But for the most part, he says he's in absolute great health. He feels fine, and that the doctor's report will explain that.
Rudy Giuliani has been pursuing an unconventional strategy in this race. He's pretty much been ignoring Iowa. He's been spending some time in New Hampshire, but not a ton, and he's looking for this national strategy. He's putting a lot of money and effort on Florida, which doesn't vote until January 29th. Can this work, do you think?
Well, I think that people are asking that question a lot lately, and some of them may be within the Giuliani campaign. But it's also important to remember that President Clinton did not place first in New Hampshire, and George Bush lost the New Hampshire primary to John McCain in 2000. And McCain looks like he's actually getting a lot more traction in New Hampshire right now. So it's not necessarily a prerequisite to win the Iowa caucus or the New Hampshire primary, but it certainly does help build up a sense of momentum. Giuliani's, I don't know if you want to call it gambling, but he's sort of looking towards a strategy that shows him doing better in some larger, later voting states. Whether it will work, I guess I'll have to buy a paper myself to find out.
Time will tell. Celeste Katz, political correspondent for the New York Daily News. Celeste, thanks very much.
Thank you for having me.
This is the David Webb Show. David Webb.
Joined in studio by Celeste Katz, senior political correspondent for Mike. They have a brand new poll out. We'll get into that. But first, from the campaign trail, does it feel good to be home for a change?
It's always a pleasure to be back here in New York City, but it is fun being out and about and watching these guys go at it, sure.
What's not talked about is what's the life of a reporter on the campaign trail?
Well, it depends. I mean,
you guys never get the spotlight, nor should you. You should write the story.
Yeah.
But let's talk about you for a minute and being on the campaign trail.
Well, I mean, there's sort of two different lifestyles on the campaign trail, I guess you could say. One of them is in the bubble, and one of them is outside the bubble. So if you're in the bubble, then you're flying around on a plane with the candidate, and they're, serving you food, and they're carting you here and carting you there and herding you like cattle, and you're running in and out, and maybe like 3, 4, 5 cities a day.
Right.
And then if you're not in the bubble, then, you're in your rental car, driving.
Chasing the candidate.
Yeah, basically like,
Who
driving
are you
with
out
one
with?
hand. And, I've been out and, we do a lot of geographic coverage. So I've been out South Carolina. Well, started out in Iowa, spent some time there.
I remember that. It was cold.
Yes, it was.
You were cold.
Wisconsin was kind of chilly and rainy too. Spent some time there, and it's a fascinating thing. It's really a great experience, and I'm lucky that Mike is supportive of that. But sometimes it really is like literally driving with one hand, eating Wendy's with one hand, texting with one hand, which do not text and drive, but that sort of thing.
Right. Well, you can dictate the text.
Exactly.
I use the technology. It gets me around a little bit better.
You can listen to satellite radio.
Exactly. See, this is how it works. We've known each other a long time. It's good to have you here in the studio, Celeste Katz, who is senior political correspondent at Mike, and you're in a new partnership with The Economist.
Okay, Pickett, I got a question. Let me ask you something.
Yes.
Does paying for channels you don't watch make you want to scream a 4-letter word?
Oh, no.
Stop. Just stop. It's time for a skinny bundle that gives you what you actually want to watch and not what you don't. Introducing the Flex package from Dish. You start with over 50 popular channels. Want more? Then add channel packs like Locals, Variety, Kids, and News. You don't watch? You don't pay. Call 1-844-CALL-DISH today or visit dish.com to sign up. The new Flex Pack from Dish. It's over 50 popular channels for just $39.99 a month with your first channel pack included. Add more channel packs like Locals, Variety, Kids, News, and more for $10 a month each. Get the skinny. Call 1-844-CALL-DISH or visit dish.com to sign up. Requires credit qualification, 2-year commitment, early termination fee, and e-auto pay. 1 TV is included, taxes and surcharges extra. Other restrictions apply.